What's the smartest trap you've ever set for someone who thought they fooled you? I'm a cancer researcher, but for a year I also worked as a guest professor at a university's medical school. My subject was imaging, everything from MRI and CT acquisition to coding techniques for processing the data. And here's the thing about coding. It's like handwriting. With enough practice, you can immediately tell who wrote what. Every programmer has their own unique style. At the time, I was in my late 20s, new to the teaching world, and not even native to the country I was working in. A few students looked at me as young, inexperienced, and easy to trick. They saw gullible foreigner written across my forehead. Part of my grading involved 2 reports, each worth 10%. Students had to write code, analyze images, and explain their reasoning. Some students worked hard, others turned in half-effort attempts, and a small, cocky group decided to skip the work entirely. As I started grading, I noticed them right away. The reports looked oddly familiar, right down to the mistakes. I had reviewed old submissions from previous years before the semester started to set a baseline. These students had simply copy-pasted those reports, changed the names, and handed them in as their own. A plagiarism checker confirmed it with a near-perfect match. It wasn't even smart cheating. The old reports were full of errors. They didn't even bother correcting them. I gave them zeros on the spot. And then came the arrogance. A few days later, one of the cheaters stopped me in the hallway. He asked when grades would be posted, then started telling me how hard he worked on his reports. He even said his exam hadn't gone well, so he was relying on those reports to pass. The guy was lying straight to my face, and I could feel my blood boil. But instead of exposing him, I kept calm and quietly set a trap. You see, my exam was the last one of the semester. After that, students usually went home or on vacation before grades were posted. That gave me the perfect setup. When I entered grades into my spreadsheet, I realized something brilliant. Even if I gave those cheaters a generous 50% on their reports, they'd still fail. Barely, but enough. So that's exactly what I did. Meanwhile, to be fair, I bumped up a few borderline students who had weak reports but strong exams. They had clearly tried. The cheaters, they got just enough rope to hang themselves. Sure enough, the very day grades went online, the emails rolled in. Long, dramatic messages about how they had worked so hard and couldn't understand why their reports only got half marks. Each one requested an appointment to review their grades. Exactly what I expected. And here's where the real fun began. University policy required grade reviews to be in person. No exceptions. Students had 3 days before grades locked permanently. The problem? These cheaters were already on vacation, some far away. They begged me for online meetings, but I simply replied, sorry, university policy. So they came. They canceled vacations, spent money on bus tickets, train rides, even flights, just to sit down with me. They thought it would be quick. 10 minutes of bargaining, maybe I'd cave and hand them the points they needed. But I didn't. When each student sat down, I didn't pull out the plagiarism evidence. That would have been too fast, too clean. Instead, I went line by line through their copied reports. Every error, every flawed explanation. I asked questions like, why did you do this? And what's your reasoning here? And of course, they didn't know. They stumbled, guessed, and tried to fake their way through. What should have been a 10-minute review turned into hours. Point by point, I forced them to endure the very lessons they thought they could skip by stealing someone else's work. Their nervous smiles faded into blank stares, then into panic. At one point, some tried to end the meeting early, but I stopped them. We need to finish reviewing your grade, I said. It's university policy. And back down they sat, trapped in their own lie. For 3 days straight, I repeated the process. One student after another, watching their confidence crumble as they realized I had known all along. They wasted money, ruined their vacations, sat through hours of soul-crushing review sessions, and in the end, they still failed. The best part? They'd be retaking the module next year, with me again as their professor. As they left, I couldn't resist saying, enjoy your summer. See you next year. The look on their faces made every second worth it. It was, without question, glorious.